One day, you're going to learn that connection with people is more important than being correct in their presence. Until you learn this, you are going to be alone. I would have said something like, I hate the lifestyle, or I hate the decision that people are making. And I think I actually believed that at the time, that I could disagree with something fundamental to a person that they were born with and unable to change, and also simultaneously love them as an equal. Honestly, I never thought that I would need to make this video. I thought that this was settled law at the Supreme Court level and that the country would not be revisiting this debate. But we can no longer take for granted that the Supreme Court won't undo its own recent decisions. So I thought, uncomfortable though it may be, it was time to explain how that version of me used to think and how I got to where I am now. Former Catholic and current bioethicist. And again, this is an uncomfortable way for me to think and speak now, but I know that there are people who do think this way, and so for the sake of connecting with them, I'm going to name the steps of the argument. God is good, and God made nature, so nature must be good. Since nature is good, unnatural things are bad. Being gay feels unnatural to me, therefore being gay must be bad. It's worth noting that this argument is used as a way to justify lots of different moral positions. Right now, many people are substituting gender transitioning as the thing that feels unnatural and therefore must be bad. But we've been doing this for a really long time. In a footnote in Brian Stevenson's book, Just Mercy, I don't honestly remember what page, but hey, there we go, got the sticky tab. People thought that interracial marriage feels unnatural to them and therefore is bad and therefore should be illegal. And notably, you don't need the premise of any kind of theology. People start with nature is good at the beginning of this argument. People think this way so frequently that this argument structure has a name, and that name is the appeals to nature fallacy. Why is it a fallacy? Let's break it down. First, and I hope most obviously, is this step. This is an intensely personal calculation. For instance, if you are gay, making out with someone who's the opposite sex of you might feel unnatural, and you could just as easily use this argument structure to justify that forcing yourself to do that would be bad. If you read Trevor Noah's book, Born a Crime, the people who colonized South Africa thought that racial hierarchy was natural and used that as a justification for apartheid. Step 3 is always going to fail because it assumes that we can agree on what is natural. We cannot. And in fact, if we look to history is full of examples of how using appeals to nature is used as a way to gain power over minority groups. The operative word there is eugenics. We don't have time to get into it in this video. But I know that if I were having this argument with my younger self, the one who was all on board with telling gay people that their lifestyle was wrong, I wouldn't have accepted what I just said. I would have said, I know that you think that it's natural, I know that you think that, but I would have a sense of confidence. So suppose that our rejection of 3 fails, let's look at 2. Even if we could agree on what was natural, step 2 is just abject nonsense. It does not follow from the fact that nature is good, that things that are unnatural are bad. Let me give you a different example. Ice cream is good, therefore things that are not ice cream are bad. Giving to charity is not ice cream, therefore giving to charity is bad. Are you following how non-cogent a step this is? I said that kind of fast. Pick a different example. Love. Love is good. Art is not love, therefore art is bad. It doesn't follow. And this way, this second step in the appeal to nature fallacy is used so frequently in contemporary discourse. When we talked about vaccines, people thought that vaccines were unnatural and therefore bad. Hank Green has been publicly going through cancer treatments, and many people keep telling him to use natural remedies because chemotherapy is not natural and therefore bad. It doesn't follow. It is a harmful way to think about the world. But suppose that you rejected that. You say, you know what? I know that you just set up a lot of words on me, internet guy, but I like my crunchy granola, and I think that natural things are better than non-natural things. So I don't care what you said, I'm still going to believe step 2. So for our last step, we have to Coldplay this thing and go all the way back to the Star art. This premise that nature is good, I have a question, which is it though? By nature being good, do you mean that black holes are good? And we, in our pursuit of imitating the good, should therefore devour everything in our path indiscriminately? Or should we be imitating the praying mantis that disposes of its lover once it's done with it, or the lions that eat their own young? No, what you mean and what I meant when I used to believe this is that my interpretation of what nature is good. My projection of myself and my values onto the natural world is good. So if I could go back in time and talk to my younger self, I would say this. First, you should buy Bitcoin. I know that you don't know what that is, but buy as much as you can and hold until November 2021. Second, majoring in physics doesn't make you better than other people. Third, you have not been exposed to very many gay people because of the religious environment that you grew up in. Being exposed to them makes you uncomfortable because it is unknown. And into that unknown fear and discomfort, you are projecting your sense of morality. You are, in a word, rationalizing your bigotry with theology. And to put it in terms that perhaps I would have understood at that time, your teachers taught you that God gave us dominion over nature, that we are spiritual beings, that love transcends the dirt and grime of this mortal coil of a world. There are more things in heaven and earth, Horatio, than are dreamt of in your philosophy. Love, Charlie, is always going to be much, much bigger than your rational understanding of it. And I was you, so I know that maybe you're not ready to hear this, but your desire to tell other people that their lifestyle is wrong doesn't come from the fact that you have strong religious belief. It comes from the fact that you do not believe in yourself yet. One day, you're going to learn that connection with people is more important than being correct in their presence. Until you learn this, you are going to be alone, and that loneliness is going to hurt. Imposing your beliefs on others and winning arguments might make you feel powerful enough to temporarily forget that pain. But Charlie, dominance, even rhetorical, intellectual dominance, is like a drug. It will fade, and you and your emptiness will still be there. And I don't want to be too mean to you because you're me, but do you think because you read Nietzsche, you understand how dark the world is, and you don't? Life will hit you much harder than you could have ever seen coming. And when it does, you're not going to have wanted to limit who you can love. If you don't learn emotional openness and vulnerability from the queer people in your life, you're probably not going to make it. Anyway, in the future, there's going to be an app called TikTok, and you're going to have like a lot of followers, and you're going to make a video, and then you're going to make it all about yourself. Conclusion. I did mean to explain that I think that a lot of homophobia, broadly construed, comes from a place of insecurity. People are looking to dominate others in order to make themselves feel better. Hegel has written about this. Lots of people have written about this throughout history. Even two of my colleagues on TikTok recently made videos about this. There was a study that was done about gaming culture, and gamers that felt insecure about themselves were more misogynistic towards the women in the gaming environments. And while I love to do logic puzzles all day long, the real truth of the matter is that I got out of this cycle because I fell all the way to the bottom. I pushed people away with my sense of entitlement until I reached the loneliest place I'd ever been in my life. And upon realizing that I still existed, I started to build myself back up from there. I imagine that there are parents and family members of queer people right now who are experiencing a version of this. The lack of acceptance for queer people of all kinds in families is breaking some families apart. And I would guess that some of these parents are starting to feel the pull and tug of that loneliness, of having pushed away the most meaningful connections in their lives. And that righteous indignation is a hell of a drug. But I think that you know it isn't strong enough to numb the pain of pushing someone you love away.